Hey people of the VC, it's Andy, Cloudy and Wilder. You join me for another delve into the deep, dark vinyl vaults of Cloudy Towers. I've picked out another 5 albums that I have not heard in quite some time, um, just to refamiliarize myself with them. As I mentioned, I rip them to lossless FLAC files so I can listen to them whenever I want when I'm out and about on my Wii. It's a Theo X1, I think it is, fairly entry level FLAC player, but does the job. Fantastic, actually. 256 gig card in there, so I've got most of my collection that I've ripped so far on it, but rapidly running out of space. So 5 albums. I love doing this because I spend so much time really on just what's in my inbox and getting to know new music. And I sometimes forget to go back in and really appreciate what I have. So let's dive straight in. First up, I pulled out Taramis and Queen of Thieves. Amazing artwork on the cover. Taramis are they're an Aussie band. So Brendan, I mentioned I was going to be showing something by Taramis coming up, and this is the one. I think you guessed right, Queen of Thieves. This is their second album, I believe, or maybe it's their first. Do you know what? I can't remember. But first one, I think. I think this cover is different from the Aussie release. This is the um, Metal Blade release, so it's got the Metal Blade labels, but it's actually licensed by Roadrunner, so it's a Dutch pressing. Um, the sound of Taramis is it's kind of Iron Maiden meets Man of War with a little bit of early Queensryche thrown in for good measure, and that's not really surprising actually. Well, not the Queensryche bit, but the Maiden and the Man of War, because Taramis started off as a band called Prowler that did Maiden and Man of War covers, so they're obviously very, very influenced, and that's come across a lot in their music. However, they are neither as good as Maiden, Man of War, or Queensryche for that matter. The production on this seems really, really thin. The bass is very, very heavy though, and to the front, and you can also tell they're 4-piece. You can also tell. So let's have a look at them. So we've got Shane Joel Southby on vocals, Craig Robertson on guitars. Up here, they all look like they're in full swing. Dave Brown on drums and Danny Comore. It's fancy writing. I didn't do fancy joined up writing in Cardiff when I grew up. But yeah, plain and simple in a sleeve with just the thanks on no lyrics. But in fantastic condition. So where was I going with this? Yeah, so they're a 4-piece, and you can tell that they've only got one guitarist, and the guitarist seems to favour more the lead parts. There's not a lot of necessary rhythm in there, so the song kind of loses a bit when they go into the leads and the solos or what have you. I did spin it 2 or 3 times, and from the second spin on, I enjoyed it a lot more. The first one, I had to kind of retune my thinking to enjoy it again. But it's hit and miss. There's a song on here. In fact, one follows the other. The Chosen and Path to Aquilonia. The Chosen is just a real car crash of a song. It's just all over the place, and I almost want to turn the record off then. But Path of Aquilonia does redeem it. In fact, it starts off and it sounds like it should be on the soundtrack for 28 Days Later. If you know that UK horror movie from God decades ago now, probably. It has that sort of haunting build-up that you get at the start of the movie, where he's walking through the deserted streets of London. But then it turns into this medley of Maiden riffs, and you just there's at least 4 where you can kind of think, well, that sounds like this Maiden song, that sounds like that Maiden song, but it's quite possibly the best song on the album. So there you go. Not terrible, not great, but worth a revisit every now and again, I feel. So check them out on YouTube. The album's on there. Album number 2. Now this one is a much maligned album by Kiss fans, and you can probably tell what it is already if I hold it up. This is Kiss music from The Elder, and I understand that. So if you're a big Kiss fan and you like that classic Kiss sound, this is not it. I was curious about this one. I didn't go out of my way to buy it when I did, but I knew it wasn't held in particularly high regard by Kiss fans. And given I'm not a Kiss fan and I don't hold their albums in that high regard, I thought, well, maybe there's something on here I'll actually quite like. So I picked it up when the opportunity presented itself, and it's an okay album. It's got a very 70s vibe for it. So this is 1981, Phonogram UK press, still very much stuck in the 70s sound though. It's sort of a hard rock sound. It kind of, I guess it's Kiss meets Queen and a bit of Magnum as well. Like I say, I like it, but not massively. It does feel like a musical soundtrack, and I guess that's what it is effectively with the music from The Elder. Only You, decent song. It tries to be heavy, but it very much clings to 70s rock, like its life depends on it. Under the Rose sounds like the vocals were recorded at half speed, but I love it. I think that's a fantastic song. It sounds really medieval. Side 2 gets a bit theatrical. I'm saying side 2 gets a bit theatrical. It's Kiss. What isn't theatrical about Kiss? But it certainly sounds more like a musical on side 2. Not quite sure what's going on with that little shot. Maybe everybody was late, so they took it anyway. And there's your back. It's actually pretty good background music. I listened to it, didn't think too much of it, and then put it on again because I always like to listen to things at least twice when I pull them out, just to make sure that I'm in the right mood or in the right frame of mind to give something a proper go. And the second time I found I could just go about, do my work or what have you, and I realised it was on, but it wasn't distracting me, and yeah, good background music. So it has the Casablanca label here, but it's licensed under Phonogram from UK, I believe. So there we go. Kiss the Elder. And that's actually the only Kiss studio album I have, would you believe it? So not a big fan. I do have the Alive and the Alive 2, but I was about 40 years too late to the party with that to really, for it to have any impact on my life whatsoever. Album 3 for you today is a banger, and this is I think my favourite album by this band, but I probably wouldn't say it's his best album. So that's the Michael Schenker Group and Assault Attack. What I love about this is the basically the collaboration between Graham Bonnet and Michael Schenker. It's absolutely superb. It's really, really catchy. Every song is fantastic on here. Here we go. There's the lineup. Graham Bonnet was there. That's probably about as heavy metal as he ever looked. He was much more at home wearing a white suit. So we've got Graham Bonnet on vocals, Chris Glenn on bass, Schenker on guitar, obviously, and Ted McKenna on drums. Nothing fancy on the inside. It's just plain stock Chrysalis label. But yeah, this is very much feels like the blueprint for Alcatraz. So when Graham Bonnet got kicked out of Michael Schenker Group for exposing his manhood on stage, I think it was one time, he obviously went on to form Alcatraz with Yngwie Malmsteen, and I mean, Bonnet has always surrounded himself with superb guitarists. Obviously, he's got Schenker on here, Malmsteen and Vai in Alcatraz, and obviously Richie Blackmore as well in Rainbow. So he knows how to get success, and success for him was having a top-notch guitarist on board. But this is a Schenker Group album, not a Graham Bonnet album as such. But yeah, almost every song. Assault Attack, Rock You to the Ground, Dancer, Samurai, that's the whole of side 1, fantastic. Ulcer, it's a great album. If you've not got this album, get it. I mean, I haven't listened to this for a long time, and I was singing along to it and played it back to back a few times. Absolutely killer stuff. Next one as well, I think will probably divide opinions. I'm not trying to be controversial at all, and that's Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon. The red logo up here, I think this makes it a second UK press, and the first one had blue outline to the his name and the album title. Classic cover. Great lineup. I mean, Ozzy on vocals, Tommy Aldridge on drums, Don Airey on keyboards, Bob Daisley bass, and obviously Jakey Lee on guitar. Nothing too exciting on the inside. Again, just stock label. This is on Epic. So I just find this a bit dull. I've never been the biggest Ozzy Osbourne solo career fan. I think he's done some fantastic songs, and there's a few really good albums. And this isn't a bad album. It just doesn't grip me or make me want to play it that often. Bark at the Moon obviously is a classic song, great song. You know, there's no fault in that one. But You're No Different is so tired. I'll tell you who's tired. I'm tired. I don't want to hear that song. It's just tiring, dull, boring. But yes, I say, not an album I would visit very often. I think his previous ones to this were much better. Certainly the work with Randy Rhoads, obviously. But you know, Jakey Lee was no slouch on guitar either. So Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, 1983 on Epic. Um, unusually I think for a UK album, it came with a inner. Most of the albums in the UK seem to have come with printed inner sleeves at the record room, but this is actually like a flyer. You've got the lineup here. Nice band shot. Ozzy looking incredibly respectable there. Obviously just been to Sharon's hairdressers and made himself look tip top. Really poor layout on this side. With all this black around here, they've had to squeeze the lyrics into this small square, so it is very difficult to read without a magnifying glass, but there we go. Nice to have that in the album anyway. Last one I have for you today is by the mighty Saxon, and this is a Lionheart. Originally out in 2004, this is the 2016 reissue that came in the Eagles and Dragons box set. So it's on the Demon label, UK pressing. 11 tracks of just Saxon doing things really well. This is a really heavy album. It's also the only studio album that featured Jorg, Michael on drums. And this is the sound that if you like battering ram and a thunderbolt, this is kind of like the blueprint for that sound. They were trying to get back and being a bit more heavier in the early 2000s. Biff sounds amazing on here. His vocals are 10 out of 10 all the way through. Some great Fighter songs on here. Witchfinder General, that actually wouldn't be out of place on an album like Thunderbolt. Lionheart, To Live by the Sword, that's probably my favourite song on here. But yes, you can't go wrong with Saxon. There are some stronger albums, there are some weaker albums, but this is a strong album in my book, and really glad I dived into this. So a lot of post-80s Saxons I'm not as familiar as I am. The 80s stuff I know like the back of my hand, but I bought the Eagles and Dragons box set to really get into it, and I've only kind of been dipping in occasionally, and I need to familiarize yourself. I'm probably only really familiar with about 4 albums out of the 7 or 8 that are in there. It's up there. That's what I'm looking up there. I'm not looking for any divine intervention here. So yes, Saxon, Lionheart, printed paper, static gathering inner sleeve rather than inner, with the lyrics, but the lyrics are readable, which is always a nice touch, especially when your eyesight's as poor as mine in these old ages. So there you have it. That's my 5. Thank you for joining me on this journey back through the vinyl vaults, and let me know in the comments what your opinions on these ones. particularly maybe the Ozzy Osbourne album. I wonder if that does divide opinion, whether that is a firm fan favourite or I'm just out there on my own. Catch you later. Thanks for watching. Cheers.